Let me welcome you to the 777 Prayer and Health Ministries, a church without walls or borders, where Jesus Christ is exalted as King of Kings and Lord of all Lords. We welcome you to this blessed Tuesday morning on the prayer conference to our segment entitled Your Health and You, a look at health, healing, and restoration in preparation for the soon return of our God and King. I'm your host, Pastor Desmond Hay, and I am super excited to welcome you to this lecture this morning as we continue our presentation on autoimmune conditions. And in particular today, we will be focusing on lupus. We talked in previous lectures on the challenges that so many are facing with autoimmune conditions. And we want to continue this presentation to educate God's children on this most important subject. We want to make it very clear to those who are listening and those who will watch that the information shared in this lecture is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. We encourage individuals, if you are not well, to please see your health care provider. We are big believers in preventative health. We believe in the power of the message of health, healing, and restoration. So please, everything you see, everything you hear, it is not intended to treat or diagnose your health condition. If you are not well, please see your health care provider. For the purposes of this lecture, or these series of lectures, we teach from three perspectives. We believe in the Bible. The Bible is our rule of faith and practice. As a matter of fact, 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 31 is the theme text that really guides our discussions in these lectures. It simply says, whether therefore you eat or drink, or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God. We believe that the Bible is the best science book you can find out there, and we believe God has given us instructions before leaving this earth, and we have been guided by the Word of God. We are also big believers and big proponents of science, and that is science which supports the Bible. We know that there is science, falsely so called, and we are strong opponents of false science. We firmly believe that every true science finds the master scientist who is given develop theories and to understand how the body functions, but we do not support the false aspects of science, which promotes evolution, etc., etc. We are firm believers in true science. We also believe in inspired writings. We believe in the gift of prophecy. We believe it is one of the identified marks of God's special people at the end of time. And so we believe God has guided his people in a very special way in these last days. He has given instruction, and there will be the gift of prophecy. There'll be prophets very much present in God's church towards the end of time. We focus and listen and are guided by the counsels of Sister Ellen White, who we believe God inspired in a very special way with the message of health, healing, and restoration in the year 1863. This message has allowed the movement, the Advent movement, the Seventh-day Adventist movement, to be recognized in health circles as some of the healthiest people on the face of the earth. As a matter of fact, Dan Buettner, in his famous book, Blue Zones, named Loma Linda, California as one of the places where individuals are living longer, where there is a strong presence of Seventh-day Adventists. And as per research, in the Framingham study and many others, Seventh-day Adventists, they live for approximately 10 years longer than the average population. Why? Because of their adherence to a message of health, healing, and restoration, and their deep and abiding faith in the God of the universe. And so this morning, having laid that foundation, I want to share with you a message of encouragement this morning. And it is from the book Counsels on Health, counsels on health. And I just want to share with you a quick counsel on healthful cooking. You know how much I love to cook. Sister Hay, Caleb, and I, we enjoy being in the kitchen. And the counsel here is on healthful cooking. And let me quote from the book Counsels on Health, page 143, paragraph 1. Quote, she says, many do not feel that this is a matter of duty. That's healthful cooking. Hence, they do not try to prepare food properly. This can be done in a simple, healthful, and easy manner without the use of lard, butter, or flesh meats. Skill must be united with simplicity. To do this, women must read and then patiently reduce what they read to practice. Many are suffering because they will not take the trouble to do this. I say to such, it is time for you to rouse your dormant energies and read up. Learn how to cook with simplicity, and yet in a manner to secure the most palatable and healthful food. Because it is wrong to cook merely to please the taste or to suit the appetite, no one should entertain the idea that an impoverished diet is right. Many are debilitated with disease and need a nourishing, plentiful, well-cooked diet. We infrequently find Graham bread heavy, sour, and partially baked. This is for want of interest to learn and care to perform the important duty of cooking. Sometimes we find cakes, soft biscuits, dried, not baked, and other things after the same order. And then cooks will tell you they can do very well in the old style of cooking. But to tell the truth, their family do not like these bread, that they would have starved to live in this way. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have said to myself, I do not wonder at it. It is your manner of preparing food that makes it so unpalatable. To eat such food would certainly give one dyspepsia. You know, ladies and gentlemen, many individuals, when they hear of eating a plant-based diet, they are like, oh, that food is too bland. It does not taste properly. While we know that many, their disease buds are depraved, your senses over the years, having eaten a really poor, impoverished diet, you cannot relish that which is good and healthy. The other factor too is that these meals aren't prepared properly. So please, let us learn how to cook together. And speaking of that, we are going to be going in the kitchen some Tuesday mornings as we share with God's children on how we can prepare these meals in a healthy and sumptuous way. So we want you to please join us then, and we want you to know that we make this available to all of God's children. Okay, having said that, ladies and gentlemen, we want to segue into our presentation this morning. Your health and you, autoimmune conditions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that we spoke in our previous lecture on the real situation, gave a backdrop on autoimmune conditions, and we are at the point where we're talking about the causes of autoimmune conditions. And we spoke last week as we were coming to this space, we expressed to those who were listening that if you should come home one afternoon, you find your house flooded, you find the sink is plugged, and you find the faucet is turned on full force, what would be the steps to fix the problem, ladies and gentlemen? And almost all of you said to us, turn off the faucet. Now, one of the things we want individuals to recognize as we prepare to turn off the faucet, ladies and gentlemen, is that we need to understand what's going on with individuals who are dealing with autoimmune conditions. Now, we have heard many individuals who have been struggling with lupus. I have personally worked along with and helped several individuals who have been dealing with this. And a number of persons have said, wow, this message is really revolutionary. And autoimmune conditions, ladies and gentlemen, we know from research that the cause of autoimmune conditions is not very clear. There is no one thing you can just point and say, this is it. You can't be that dogmatic. But research suggests, ladies and gentlemen, that there may be a genetic susceptibility to autoimmunity and different environmental triggers that bring on the condition, right? And it is really estimated from the research that about 75% of autoimmune conditions are caused by environmental factors. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 75%. Now, this morning, I want to pause parenthetically to speak about lupus. Yes, systemic lupus erythematosus, rather, is also called SLE or simply lupus. You hear individuals talk about having lupus and what it has done to them and how challenging it is. It is a disease that is characterized by general symptoms of feeling bad, arthritis, skin lesions, with gradual or rapid progression to serious manifestations such as pneumonia, disabling arthritis, kidney failure. So lupus, in my research, is a member of the group of diseases called collagen diseases. Collagen diseases also include your rheumatoid arthritis, dermatomyositis, or dermatomyositis, rather. I'm struggling this morning. My tongue is tied up. Dermatomyositis, right, and others. Lupus often starts, ladies and gentlemen, with a fever of unknown cause, which the fever in the lupus situation, it really lasts for days, sometimes for weeks, sometimes months. Then in a lupus patient, you will find that a rash, typically in the butterfly area of the face, may begin at that time, okay? So right, over, your nostril into your cheek area, there, closer up to your eyes, you have that butterfly area being formed. So the disease lupus, ladies and gentlemen, is really caused by an alteration in the chemical structure of the collagen, or a type of connective tissue fiber. So collagen is really that tissue fiber, especially common in your blood vessels and your lungs, your kidneys, your skin, and the lining membranes of your joints and body cavities. So all over your body, you will find collagen. Now, the organs where the connective tissue collagen fibers are most common will be the most severely afflicted by the disease symptoms. Now, the disease runs an on again, off again kind of regime or course. And so you might have the symptoms now, and then you're relieved of the symptoms, and it's that kind of seesaw on off way lasting for many years. It's very chronic. If you've ever come across anyone dealing with lupus, it's often disabling and it's labeled by many incurable. Now, cortisone is often used to relieve the symptoms, but it does not in any way alter the progress of the disease from the research that I have engaged in. The long-term use of even low doses, such as 5 milligrams daily of prednisone, can lead to problems, ladies and gentlemen, serious problems. It can cause a moon face. You can have that buffalo hump. You can have recurrent infection, osteoporosis, and cataracts. Now, let's go a little bit deeper as we talk about lupus. If you're just joining us, we are focusing on autoimmune conditions, and we are talking this morning about lupus. So in lupus, you will find that when they do that blood serum, they take that blood test and they check the blood serum proteins are usually abnormal. So lupus is more common, as you might realize, in women in the childbearing age, and it strikes all races, geographic areas. No preferences have been noted. It's fairly common disorder and is increasing in frequency. The increasing frequency of lupus seems greater than can be accounted for on the basis of greater ability to make the diagnosis. So sometimes it cannot be diagnosed. Well, you're fatigued. You go to the doctor, you're feeling aches and pains. The doctor might say, oh, you have some arthritis. This is what's going on. And they go down a different treatment pathway. And you find that it is not discovered until years after. You're like, wow, what's going on? Your kidneys are damaged. You're in a serious condition. And of course, you find yourself up against it and very, very ill. So that is why these lectures really educate you. Look for these symptoms if they are on and off, if you have been experiencing, you've done your blood serum level and you find that it is abnormal, especially the proteins, you can start to rule out some other things and know that you are trending in the direction of lupus. So a number of causative factors that mark the onset of the disease, ladies and gentlemen, or that initiate, if you please, the flare-up that you would see. Number one, exposure to sunlight. And so exposure to sunlight, it produces a severe skin reaction. So those individuals who have developed the condition, it will be exacerbated by exposure to the sunlight. It may be followed by, in some cases, I have seen by the development of widespread activity in the body, various stresses such as surgery, if someone becomes pregnant, if there's an abortion, and cancer. These are associated with initiating lupus. Now, the administration of a large variety of drugs, notably gold, sulfonamide, niamide, penicillin, other antimicrobial that may be used initiate the flare-up. Sometimes these drugs, they kind of just push the body to a place where you have that flare-up. Now, when lupus is caused by certain drugs, the effect is sometimes reversible once this offending medication has been removed. And these are what we call medication-induced lupus condition. A local infection, severe emotional or physical stress may also result in flare-ups. Widespread use of drugs may be related to the increase in the incidence of lupus. The fact that the taking of drugs just prior to a flare-up is often a feature of the disease. It gives credence to the theory that lupus is caused by toxic agents. Now, there are several other theories out there as to the origin of lupus. One theory is that it is an autoimmune disease, that is, the body has become allergic to itself. And we have talked about that. We've shared that. It is true that some of the altered proteins in the blood act as antibodies to break down its own red blood cells, even to the point of causing anemia. The anti-nuclear antibody, which is called your ANA, an abnormal protein found in many collagen diseases, has been found in certain of the kidney lesions of lupus. Some feel, however, as they look at this in the literature, as I embraced and I read and kind of sit with it, that the abnormal proteins develop mainly under conditions of low oxygen or some kind of circulatory ischemia, bringing us back to the idea of the influence of drugs on the body. Contraceptive pills can also cause the production of ANA. Now, there seems to be a hereditary predisposition predisposition to the disease, as immediate relatives of persons with lupus will show abnormal proteins in the blood and positive tests for rheumatoid factors more frequently than in general population. Now, one of the things, ladies and gentlemen, I have found out in reading is that many of the family members are without symptoms, but relatives of lupus patients, they have certain manifestations, including that rheumatoid arthritis, rheumatic fever, skin eruptions from undetermined cause, or a neurological disorder. Another theory is that lupus is caused by an infectious agent. That's another theory that I found. There are some who have entertained the thought that a viral illness may be the cause of lupus. Measles lupus has been implicated because a certain sequence of the nucleotide molecules in the genes of measles virus, have been found in the genes of SLE patients and not in the genes of persons not having SLE. So then they say, well, lupus is caused by the infectious agent. Perhaps in their estimation, the virus triggers abnormal protein formation, which makes the body think its cells are foreign. Then the body attacks its own cells in an autoimmune reaction. So lupus has been seen to occur in families. The disease involves parents and children, or a child and siblings. And the disease has been recorded in identical twins. Now, when the disease appears in the offspring of, say, a pregnant woman having lupus, it does not usually conduct itself in such a way as to indicate an infectious disease, but rather it usually develops in many years. So you'll have a chronic false positive test for example, syphilis maybe present many years before a person develops frank lupus, hinting at a relationship between an infectious agent. Dogs get systemic lupus as well as humans. And there have been some authorities who have suggested a possible relationship between lupus in pets and lupus in humans. Nobody has yet shown any cross relationship between dog lupus and that of humans. Now, in working with and in being in places where individuals were cared for when they have lupus, treatment, the aim at all three of the currently considered possible causes, a toxicity, an autoimmune or allergenic type of reaction, and a viral infection, is really the treatment pattern. All three are considered. So we are going to talk about how we begin our treatment of lupus. We begin our treatment with the use of charcoal. What? Charcoal? Yes, charcoal. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. This excellent form of treatment can be used internally as well as externally. In working with individuals with lupus, basically the internal dosage that I've used is between 8 to 10 tablets or 4 capsules of charcoal daily for a sufficient length of time to really expect the toxic substance to be adsorbed. Notice I did not say absorb, but adsorbed. This may last, most times I have seen, for a month or more. At the same time, I am encouraging these individuals to engage in charcoal baths or charcoal whirlpool, which is really a cup of charcoal to a whirlpool tank if you have one, or 1/2 cup full to a bathtub of hot water. That is a tub of 103 to 104 degrees. If the disease is due to any of the 3 factors suspected, the charcoal is capable of assisting somewhat in taking up the causative agent. So it binds itself to the causative agent and it is adsorbed and it pulls it from the system. Then the next approach is really a sweating bath that is used for about 5 times per week. If the patient's condition will really permit, depending on how the patient is doing, because some individuals, they're in the advanced stages and they're really debilitated. The condition is just really bad. The oral temperature is made to rise instead of 103, usually between 101 to 103 degrees, so that there is a profuse sweating that will occur. Now, if the disease is due to a virus, the higher temperatures promote the phagocytic activity of the white blood cells and improve your defense mechanism and really stimulate the immune system to normal response. If the disease is due to toxins in the treatment will assist in really the normal removal through the process of sweating, phagocytosis, and increase urine production. So we want to give that charcoal. We want to get you into that hydrotherapy, that sweat, bring that water up to a 103, 104, depending on your health status. And we want to stimulate the immune system to normal function, and the body starts to sweat. If you have a sauna at home, or if you can be exposed to a sauna and you can have a private session, get that body to really sweat. It's going to really get rid of those toxins through the pores. It will assist in phagocytosis and increase urine production. Then we put you on the table and we start that massage. It's a good form of treatment, preferably using total body massage from head to toe. Now, the enhancement of your immune function, it encourages a return to normality in producing blood protein. So what will happen as you engage in this process of healing and restoration? You will find that the body begins to heal itself. You will also find that you start to massage, ladies and gentlemen, just gentle massage. And one of these days, hopefully we can do something on live so you can kind of see the processes that we go through. It's a good form of treatment. So we do charcoal, we do hydrotherapy, and we include the massage total body, which will really enhance the immune function, encourages that return, opening up of your system, producing blood protein. Now, the diet of a person who's struggling with lupus is chosen with the expectation that whatever the cause, it should be capable, that diet should be capable of assisting the body's own defense and elimination system. Generally, a well-balanced diet. I recommend a plant-based diet, ladies and gentlemen, chosen from a strictly plant-based with an emphasis on your fresh vegetables and your fruits. In my experience, that is the best options. Salt, I always encourage those I'm working with to bring salt to a minimum. I encourage them to eliminate all animal products. You rid the body of one possible source of toxins and viruses, and you'd avoid one potential source of abnormal stimulation to the immune system. A diet containing no free fats, sugar is eliminated. It would allow the defense mechanism of the body to operate untrammeled, since the food items are known to interfere with the proper functioning of the defense system. Another thing that I have shared, ladies and gentlemen, is that good nutritional status is considered from the research a factor in recovery from acute lupus attacks. We go back to diet. Diet, ladies and gentlemen. It is important. What you put in, you will get out. Garbage in, garbage out. You're putting healthy stuff, your fruits, your nuts, your grains, ladies and gentlemen, your vegetables. Sufficient deficiency states, particularly a deficiency of manganese. Most times when blood workup is done, sending individuals to get their blood workup by their doctors. That's kind of my approach. And I am able to read those reports. I recognize that there is a deficiency in manganese. And from the research, it has been indirectly implicated in lupus. The idea arose because of observation in chronic hydralazine, an older blood pressure medication, poisoning in animals. Lupus and hydralazine syndrome in a man may be related to manganese deficiency. And that's where the connection with manganese. Now, Dr. Joel Furman of New Jersey, he has reported some years ago the novel treatment of fasting for lupus patients. Now, he has fasted them, even some with fairly severe kidney disease, for up to 21 days with excellent improvement. He cautions that this must be done only with strict medical supervision. And his theory, I won't go into this morning, but I feel in my assessment of the literature as I engage with his material, is that this treatment that he refers to, it deserves more extensive trials in my estimation, and we want to provide you with the best. But he did 21 days fasts with individuals, some of his patients, under direct supervision, of course, in a sanitarium setup. He has seen great improvements. Now, sunlight should be used, but in vanishing quantities at first, because of course, exposure to sunlight, you have this serious reaction when you are a lupus patient. So, hey, what are you saying, Pastor? Go out into the sun? No. What we suggest is that in vanishing quantities at first, so small exposure, you start going in, particularly in acute exacerbation. If you're having an acute exacerbation of lupus, you want to not sit in the sun for 45 minutes. That's not recommended because you're going to have a serious reaction. But we want you, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. If you're going in the garden, you put on your broad hat and you just expose small areas of your body so that you can get that vitamin D. Now, when the acute part of the disease has subsided, you can begin with very small doses of sunshine, perhaps 5 minutes. Before that, the patient that I've worked with, patients in this matter, is really given 5 minutes in deep shade, daily progressing until 5 minutes can be tolerated in light shade, and then advancing to a screened sun porch for as many hours as possible. And I believe the very fact of being outdoors can be beneficial to many. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, the good physical conditioning features of fresh air, sunshine, pure water, this habit in regularity, abstinence, and trust in divine power, they are essential for the treatment of lupus. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about this condition, we want you to recognize that many are struggling with it. And one of the things that we highly recommend, ladies and gentlemen, we highly recommend is to strengthen that immune system. We really highly recommend you to strengthen the immune system. There are 7 factors that have really been unearthed in the research regarding this lupus and autoimmune disease on a whole. Many individuals, gluten sensitivity. Many of you are consuming genetically modified organisms. And yes, you're having some gut dysfunction. There is neurological stress. Of course, we talked about toxin and chronic stress and adrenal fatigue, and of course, infections. Now, I want to this morning just begin by, for the next 4 or 5 minutes, just highlighting food sensitivity and your autoimmune situation, especially with lupus and other autoimmune conditions. So we have delineated lupus. I have shown you kind of a treatment pattern that I have utilized, and many others. But I also want to talk in more specifics as it regards food sensitivities. Now, several of you, the gut is, as you know, is critically important with autoimmune conditions because gut bacteria heavily regulate your immune system, right? So in fact, when I researched the whole thing, I found that 70% of your immune system resides in your gut. Yes. One of the main ways that the factors above really lead to autoimmunity is by inflaming. These 7 factors, ladies and gentlemen, inflaming and damaging the gut and destroying the beneficial bacteria. So you have good bacteria, you have really destabilized the gut flora, and it is really, your microbiome is in chaos at this stage. So when the gut lining is damaged, it can become porous, right? And you don't want a porous gut lining. Foods and other things that you're consuming, they pass through these holes. You will need to refer to my previous lecture. I showed the spaces that were created, and they get into your bloodstream. Now your immune system now is alerted, it's exposed to these foods, and it reacts to the foods as you got it right, as a threat, because hello, I am here to protect you, and I see a pathogen, I see a foreign matter roving around in your bloodstream, and so your immune system sees this as a threat, and it amplifies the immune response. Now, for this reason, persons with autoimmune conditions are more likely to have food sensitivities. Oh, I'm allergic to this, Pastor. I've heard it over and over and over. Oh, yes, I'm having an allergenic response. Could it be that you're having a situation where your gut has become porous, that lining is damaged? Now, there was a recent observational study. It found a clear difference in food sensitivity profiles to people with autoimmune diseases. Your ILG levels, ILG levels for specific food antibodies were significantly higher in patients with autoimmune conditions, which mean that they had a greater immune reaction to these foods. Now, it is important to remove foods that may be causing an immune response to prevent and improve autoimmune conditions. Now, food sensitivities, ladies and gentlemen, can be hard to identify, very hard to identify, because the symptoms are usually delayed up to 72 hours. Let me see if I am able to bring back that food sensitivity slide for you to see. So up to 72 hours, ladies and gentlemen, you can have those food sensitivity. Oh, there we go. This is where I want to be. It go up to 72 hours after consuming the food. Now these symptoms include more than digestive issues, such as migraines, fatigue, joint pain, skin issues. Testing. I often encourage individuals to test for food sensitivity. It's a good option if you're struggling with autoimmune conditions. We're talking about 45. When we talk about food sensitivities, if you're able to access my screen and see what I'm showing, 45% of the population suffer from food sensitivity. And you have delayed reaction to a food up to 72 hours after eating the offending foods. You have bloating, joint pains, irritable bowel syndrome, tiredness, eczema, low mood, headache, weight gain. Is it deadly? No. Most common sensitivities that individuals will experience, which foods? What are the foods? We're talking about wheat, gluten, milk, dairy, corn, eggs, sugar. Now, how many? It can be multiple. There can be a self-assessment. Your pulse testing can be effective. Delayed onset of the symptoms can make it tricky. When you think about food allergies, usually this is developed from infancy. 2% adults, 6 to 8% children have an allergy. Immediately, within 2 hours or less, you will see the skin, it will impact, you will have the reaction in digestion, the airways, anaphylactic shock sometimes. Is it deadly? Oh, yes. Even trace amounts of foods can trigger severe, life-threatening reactions. Ladies and gentlemen, do not play with these food allergies. It's different from food sensitivities. It is more life-threatening, more chronic, can be more chronic. Most common types of allergies out there: your peanuts, your tree nuts, your eggs, your milk, your fish, and your shellfish. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how many individuals fish, shellfish, seafood has just exacerbated autoimmune conditions and just create some serious allergies. Now, how many? Rarely more than one or two of the foods. Most times someone will have a peanut allergy, or in a lot of cases, I see that serious food allergy or fish allergy. Immediate reaction, easy to identify, ladies and gentlemen. So I just wanted to bring that to you in terms of food sensitivity and allergies in your body. So we want you to realize that these are the symptoms of food sensitivity and food allergies. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare to wrap up this morning, I have given you quite a lot of information, and I want you to note in closing, as we seek to turn off the faucet. So we are turning off the faucet now in that kitchen. Number one, we recognize that there are 7 causative factors to your autoimmune conditions, 7 major ones. Number 2, we share with you, ladies and gentlemen, about your gut. And then there are 5 nutrients to heal autoimmune disease: vitamin D, zinc, glutathione, omega-3 fatty acids, probiotics. Ladies and gentlemen, these 5 have worked exceptionally well in autoimmune conditions. And in our next lecture, we're going to talk about how we're going to eliminate the benefits of food elimination diet. We're going to talk about an anti-inflammatory diet and autoimmune conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, as we say, health for you, health for me, health for all mankind. May I pray with you this morning as we prepare to go into our Q&A. Father in heaven, we thank you for this message of health, healing, and restoration. We pray that you would bless your children, that their health will spring forth speedily, and that as we continue to learn about autoimmune conditions, especially the focus on lupus today, that your people will be enlightened and they will be blessed, transformed by your power, and your spirit will work in their lives. You have promised that if we are obedient to your laws of health, none of the diseases that afflict the Egyptians will affect your children. Bless us with good health so we can take this good news of salvation and hope to a world dying in pain, poverty, and sin, is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Remember, to our Facebook and YouTube listeners, please like on our YouTube channel, please subscribe, please share, please hit the notification bell so that when we go live, you can be a part of this lecture. Until we meet, 7 in the morning, 7 in the evening, 7 days per week on the 777 Prayer and Health Ministries. God bless.